This is our second video in our two-part series on Formstack Workflows. We are really lucky to have a genius from Formstack on the call with us. Kate is going to show us step-by-step how to create workflows inside of Formstack. Let's dive in. Hi, I'm Kyle, the creator of No Code Collab, a site with tips, tricks, and tutorials for your next no-code project. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and be sure to head over to our website where we have code snippets and other resources to help you during your no-code build. I also want to give a huge shout out to the Formstack team, especially Justin and Kate and Zach and Bryce. Everyone there has been so helpful and generous with their time and their knowledge, so thank you, Formstack. Let's dive in and see how we actually build these multi-person workflows, because I think that it's going to probably look familiar. I'm assuming it's going to look familiar to if you've built a form. So we're not going to go into building a form. We're only going to look at how to trigger the workflows. So Kate, take it away, and let's see how we can actually start to incorporate some other people into our forms and workflows.
Perfect. I'm excited to show this to you guys. It's actually going to be pretty easy, which is what we're trying to do, especially with Formstack, as you know, trying to make everything automated and easier for you. So like you said, Kyle, it's going to be fairly similar. It's going to seem pretty normal compared to how we build out a form, and you've got tons of videos on that already. So, you can reference those, but what we've gone ahead and done is we are in the form builder right now. And within the form builder, what we've decided to do that might be new is actually create different sections here. And so we have a different section for basically every step in the workflow process. So if you remember from the last video, this is a new employee onboarding situation. So we want the new employee to fill out this first section. Then when it goes to the next step, we want it to go to the manager here. And then as a next step, we are going to have it go to the human resources. So something that we suggest is when you are filling out the workflow, you will need to make separate sections for each step of the workflow. And so it's very easy to do. You've seen from the form builder from Kyle, but you'll just scroll down here, you'll click section, and you'll actually just drag and drop this over into the form to create a new section. Once it's been added over there, and let me go ahead and get it stuck over here, you'll be able to then go ahead into the section and actually go ahead and name it whatever you would like. So again, can be human resources step, it could be manager step, whatever you're wanting that actual section to be called, it'll be right there. And so
I like to use sections because it allows me to reorder big chunks of content more quickly. It allows me to also, like on sections, I can set the number of columns. And so I've been using sections for some of the other efficiency purposes, because I can apply a lot of styles and move things around in sections. So it's actually really nice to hear that if you're already using sections, this is going to be a easy add-on. Yeah,
absolutely. Yes. And the other thing too, I'm sure you've talked about, Kyle, but you can actually do where you can save sections. So for example, if you are going to ask the same, 12 questions in the beginning about like name, address, email, phone numbers, you can actually create that section and then save it. So then when you're creating new forms in the future, you can actually just drag and drop these different sections. So you're not having to rebuild them every time. So just kind of a little fun fact for people in terms of utilizing sections within our form builder.
Yeah, I've done that with responses where you save, or you can save drop downs. You can save. So I've had save response lists. I can't remember if that's what it's called, but I've done that before. But I hadn't used save sections, but that's cool.
Yep. So it just makes it easy, especially if you're going to have a lot of onboarding. For example, if you have onboarding but for different departments or something like that, just makes it really easy.
Cool.
So once you've gone ahead and created the form and you have your different sections, you're going to go over here and utilize this workflow button. So you'll go ahead and click workflow, and then you're going to be able to see the workflow that I have set up. So this is going to seem very familiar to the last video we were just on. And I should note here, this workflow only has 3 steps. You can have more steps, less steps, whatever that is. Just this particular workflow only has 3 steps. So how you're going to set it up is you'll actually go in, and this is automatically going to be here, this entry step. And so what you'll go ahead and see is that login is not required. So basically anybody can utilize this first portion, this first step. So again, you know, you're going to be onboarding a new employee. Obviously an employee is not going to be a user on here. So anyone could utilize this, no login required. And then what we've gone ahead in here and said sections, and I have said that they are able to only see the new employee onboarding. So I do not want them to see the manager section. I do not want them to see human resources, as you can see here. So I have said all they are going to see is this section and that they can edit it. So that is going to be
So
this first step.
And if you, sorry to interrupt, if you were to select another section, it just gets added as another pill there?
Yep,
I
absolutely.
see. Okay, cool.
And so exactly. And so for this one, it's just the new employee onboarding. All I wanted them to see is this first section. That's it. And so that is what we have as the first step. Now I'm going to say now for the step 2, I want this as step 2 to be the manager, right? I want this next section to go to a manager. So I have said here, login is going to be required because they need to be a user or a participant user on Formstack. And then what you can do here is you can actually say, is it hard-coded to a specific person every time, or is it conditional based on a field from our form? So for this situation, like we talked about in the last video, I want it to be I want it to go to a manager based on the question, who is your manager? So if they say it's Beyonce, it's going to her. If it's Kate, it's going to myself, et cetera, et cetera. So I have this right now based on conditional logic saying, who is your manager? So once they have selected that in the form, it will then determine who this next step goes to in the workflow.
Okay. If login is required, I'm assuming that the person who I then assign to needs to be a Formstack user. If login is not required, could I send it to anyone?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I could say, I'm just thinking of different scenarios. Let's say there's you need parental approval for your child to go on a field trip, right? So the father fills out or parent 1, I guess you could say, if they're assuming there's 2 parents. If parent 1 fills out the form, and then they could then enter the email for parent 2, and then parent 2, once they submit, parent 2 could get an email and they could fill out some information and then they could submit.
So that in that situation, no. In order for someone to have access in the workflow and need to be able to do something as like a second or third step, they will need to be a user. So whether that's a participant user, they don't necessarily need to be a full-blown user. They can be what we would call a participant user. So they would just go in and basically be able to see workflow steps. They wouldn't necessarily have access to build forms, things like that. So we have a couple different levels of users. So for that situation, you would want it to just go to like 1 or 2 parents, whoever it needs to kind of fill that out. And then that next step would maybe be going to like the admin at the school to confirm that, yes, hey, we received their information, that kind of thing.
And so participant users are in the system. Do they count against, are there like limits on the number of participant users you can have on a subscription tier?
There's no limits. You just need to make sure that you have enough participant users on your account to account for, you know, anybody that might be involved in the workflows.
So I could have on an account, I could have 100 participant users.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. And I don't pay for participant users.
You will pay for participant users, but it's going to be different than a full-blown user. So like a full-blown user, you know, creating, editing forms, you might only need 5 of those people, but a participant user, you know, you might need more of them, and it's not going to be like the same pricing for, you know, either one of them. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Cool. And with the tiers, I also noticed that you had the workflow button. So if you click if you go back, and the workflow button, is that available to everyone?
So you will need to be set up to have workflows on your account. So that is an additional add-on. So a lot of the time you might just see build and style. When someone goes in and adds on workflows to their account, that workflow button will appear, and then you can utilize it on any of the forms that you have on your account.
Okay, great.
So and actually, since we just went back to the form builder, something that I will show, because we're talking about how it's conditional logic. So based on who your manager is where it's going to go next. you can see here, I have gone into the who is your manager question, and I have made sure to label each different option with an email of where it's gonna go and who's it's gonna, who will be responsible. So this is very similar to how you would set it up. I would say, hey, here's Beyonce's email, here's Taylor Swift's, here's Kate's. So then that way, in that workflow step, when you select who your manager is, it will know exactly who to email and who should be responsible for that next step.
And I could probably create a smart list with all of my users in it so that if I wanted to just easily add, say, choose a Formstack user or choose a participant user, then I could just pull in that. Okay.
Yep, exactly. You're on it.
Cool.
So I go back to the workflow and I'm looking here. So I have this saying participant filling out this next step is assigned from a field on our form. I've just showed you how we could do some of that conditional kind of logic on the back end. And now I'm going to go here and add in the sections. So like I mentioned in the last video, I have them being able to view this first section, but not edit. Here's where I would change that if I want people to be able to edit for, like you said, Kyle, if someone mistypes their name, misspells something, we can have that person be able to edit. Hey, maybe you don't trust this next person, you want them only to view the information, whatever you want to do can be set here.
Great.
And then for this next step, I have said, hey, this is going to be going to HR. And so if I click down into here, I have for this step decided to hard code it. So, hey, we only have one person in HR that does, new employee onboarding. So I'm going to hard code it. Here's all of our, users, and I'm going to hard code it to be Kate every time. This again can also be assigned from a field on your form, however you would like to get it set up. And then very similar, I'm going to add the sections in. So I wanted this HR representative to see this section, and then edit this last section. So it can be completely customized there if you want them to be able to edit all of it, et cetera, et cetera.
So when is a situation when you wouldn't want to require login on a subsequent step?
So great question. So basically login will be required for each step after the entry step. It is just there for added security for this first step. Like if you had an SSO, ability or something like that for this entry level, that you might want them to be required to log in. However, typically what we see at Formstack is this entry level step, there's never login required because it's something you want to be able to send out to the masses. And then basically every step after that is going to require a login because that person has to be a user to be able to access the workflow.
Can you click on settings there? Right below where you were on step 2.
Oh, yep.
So even though that login required is there, can you flick that off?
You can, however, they're not going to be able to access it then because they need to be able to authenticate that they are actually logging in as a user to be able to move the workflow throughout the next step.
Okay, so even though for people who are watching, even though you can turn off authentication on subsequent steps, that then you'd probably be in what, only like view only mode. You'd probably only be viewing stuff. I see.
Yeah.
Okay. So really, if you want to keep the if you want to keep the workflow moving, you've got every subsequent step is authenticated.
Absolutely. Yes, exactly.
And then my last question is, can we talk about logic? I'm seeing this logic tab and I'm curious about what's behind door number 3.
Yes. So basically, you can add in different logic steps or rules based on certain answers, certain situations, that kind of thing, to then have it go to like the next person or a next situation or send an email, that kind of thing. So you can say like, if their birthday is this, then it's going to complete the workflow. If they say, hey, are you able to work in the United States? If they say no, then the workflow's done and you don't need to continue working.
So it's similar to forms where you can skip questions and jump to the end of the form, and you can kind of determine whether or not you want to do things. The logic is the same thing. If I don't want to bug the HR manager, if this person isn't even capable of working for us because of their age.
Exactly.
Okay.
So like if birthday is after this date, then hey, we're just going to complete the workflow. They're done because they're not 18 and they have to be 18 to work at this company or something. So that can all be conditional based on this logic that you can add in.
And I suppose you could probably set some stuff up where it's like, if the, if the department they selected, like you said, if the department was English, or if it was math, you could do some different things. Then, if they are, if they're in pediatrics, then we want to send it to the nurse. Whereas if they're in oncology, we want to send it to the doctor, that might be a user situation. But anyway, but I see where we're going here. Interesting. Okay, that's cool. Awesome.
Absolutely.
So now I've set up my steps, adding, let's say we wanted to add a fourth step.
Yeah. So very easy. So this doesn't have a fourth section, so we wouldn't be able to do that. But if this had another section, you basically just go in here. You're going to add in this next step. You would add in the sections you want them to be able to see and kind of what that would be. And then again, you can hard code it to be a specific user, assigning from a field on your form, and then saying what that next step is.
Awesome. And the little plus minus that you've got to the right of the edit, I'm not familiar with that icon. Yeah, right there. Oh, add step before, add step after. Oh, cool.
Yep. So if all of a sudden I was like, oh shoot, I forgot to add a step that needs to go before this, you can just go ahead and select that. It'll add it before, after. If you need to duplicate this step, for some reason, you can do that. And then obviously just deleting out the step right away.
And I suppose you can't probably rearrange steps since they're based on each other, right?
As of right now, you just actually have to like add a step before, or you could duplicate it, move it up and down kind of thing would be what you'd have to do.
Yep. Okay.
The only other thing that's a little bit different, so normally you can just like view a form right away. For workflows, you will need to go ahead and go into the workflow and then publish the workflow. So then that makes sure that once people start submitting answers, or that first step, then it will start the workflow. So you would just go ahead and click publish workflow. And then you'll notice that once it's published, I cannot make edits to the form. So it locks it so to ensure that the workflow still works and goes through the process. If now I'm like, oh my gosh, we forgot a step, I need to add it, you would just go back in here, say make edits, and I would just say leave as is, but I'm going to unpublish and edit it, and then I can go in and make those changes as needed here.
I see. And so we can preview, and it says preview workflow.
Yep. So it's going to show you here, hey, here's the first step. So it's basically going to show you what I just showed you, just in a diagram form. So it's going to show you this first step. It's going to say submit form. And then if I come over here and say next step, okay, so the next step, they're still going to see this first one, but then they're going to add this to it. Then the next step is going to say this third one. And now we can see that this third step's been added.
That's great. And the diagram where the workflow.
Way, and then you can do the workflow again, and you can see here's that workflow.
Oh, fantastic. Can you have, I suppose, so then any admin user or any non-participant user could edit the workflow as well. So they could come in and, okay.
Yep, if they're a full-blown Formstack user, they'll be able to go and edit any workflows, edit the forms, really have kind of full power over, making those changes as they're needed.
Awesome. Well, Kate, this has been so helpful. Thank you for showing us how to build it. It's been a pleasure having you on the channel.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Hopefully this tutorial was helpful and you have a better idea of how to actually set up workflows inside of Formstack. If you've got your forms set up properly with sections, it's actually not too much of an add-on to make them compatible with workflows. So that's a really exciting thing. It's not too much of a lift to get your whole team involved in your forms and processes. So really exciting stuff. Thank you for tuning into this video, and we will see you at the next tutorial.